No, please, I didn't do it on purpose.
Inactivity alarm.
You can see my vacuum cleaner still in the middle of the room, so we're good. I just came back from a race and decided it's really time to talk about this radio. Unfortunately, I don't have Radiomaster Boxer expert, but I do have Sweaty Box expert. That's how he asked me to introduce him.
Ladies and gentlemen, boxes are cool. Huh? Not this asshole. Ah! Ta! Ugh. I've been really kung fu fighting since I was this big. Don't fuck with me. Boxes!
It wouldn't be fair to hide that Radiomaster did send me this radio. And to be honest with you, I don't know why they did it. Because first of all, I'm a very small and lazy YouTuber and they didn't even ask for review. Also, I'm not a pro racer. Just a shit pilot. In fact, a year ago, they sent me this radio, TX16S, and I gladly used it, I enjoyed it, but I never thought about making a review because it didn't touch my soul, you know what I mean? But this little sucker is different. Although, I still have complaints. I always have them. First of all, let's seriously talk about these buttons. The right one, momentary, is pretty cool. But the left two-position button... I installed this switch by myself and now my button doesn't work. And that's what I wanted. I know some people using this button for arming, but I sincerely think that it's just not safe in our hobby. Because disarming is critically essential to be quick. Is it the right way to say?
No.
And disarming with a button requires two moves, push and release, whereas switch is just... And that could be the difference between one cut and three cuts on your fingers. And it's not just about accidental arming. Let's say you're doing line of sight or you do racing and you crash into the gate and you need to disarm as quick as possible if you don't know where you're going and you're not in control. Or some dumbass walks into the course while you're flying, and that happened with me before. So you do a turn and you suddenly see a face in front of you. This is a tough situation to be in, but quick disarming must be one of the options. Another situation, a little bit more funny, and I saw other people doing that, so you crash into the gate or other obstacle and disarm because you think the crash was too bad. But then you see your quad is still plugged in the air, everything's safe, it's just falling. What you can do? And keep flying. Doesn't always work, but it does sometimes. One advantage of the button is just it's harder to arm your quad accidentally. For example, with a switch, you can put your radio on the table and then... But that's why we have pre-arming, and that's why you should never leave your throttle at 0 unless you're ready to fly right now. Because if you throttle in the middle, you just can't arm, at least in beta flight and in keys. Safety. I know some people using front switches for arming and disarming, especially if you're a pincher. In this case, Boxer is even more for you. But especially if you're a beginner, please pay attention to your disarming habit and how quick you can do that, because this is gonna live with you for a long time. For example, if you're a thumber and you need to release your stick to disarm, that might not be so optimal, because it's just a little bit slower. Ideally, your disarm finger should be right next to the switch, ready to do it faster than you can blink. And ideally, the only purpose of this finger should be disarming. They are just my thoughts, you have to decide by yourself, especially if you're experienced and you have your own habit, because sometimes developing a new habit can be more dangerous than following whatever you have now. And everyone is unique, you have your own little fingers. I even knew some people that had a problem with accidental disarming mid-flight. That's just a mystery for me, I don't understand how. Like a people without any special health cases. It's like you're flying and then suddenly move a finger that shouldn't be moving. What are you gonna do with your finger after? Punish it? Shame in public your finger? No, please, I didn't do it on purpose. So my switch modification wasn't too hard to do. Just open up the radio, a little bit of Dremel work, and there we go. I also had to cut the long legs of the other switch because they were on the way, and just resolder the wires. While the radio was still open, I decided to also put internal express LRS antenna into the module. I know it's not the optimal way, and also, by the way, you need to check your local regulations if you can do that. But I'm still using Ghost most of the times, and I just know I'm gonna lose this antenna eventually. But if you decide to do this mod properly, you probably better use something like this sticky antenna from horusrc.com. But I really appreciate that for Boxer, Radiomaster decided to use SMA antenna mount instead of hard-mounted antenna. And in theory, you can just turn off the internal Express LRS module and don't be scared of burning it. in theory. Another advantage of Radiomaster Boxer versus TX16S, everyone knows about that it's a little bit smaller. It's the same width, but it's a little bit shorter and a little bit thinner, so it leaves a little bit more room in your backpack. With all that, it still feels like a full-size radio because it's the same distance from hand to hand. And it still fits nicely, full-size gimbals, and you can even upgrade to these metal ones. Sounded like Radiomaster paid me to say that, which they should. But they didn't. You have probably noticed that I'm a huge user experience jerk and some little things can annoy the fuck out of me. Neil, I just dropped an F-bomb. I forgot he doesn't live with me. Let's talk about this on and off button. It doesn't really annoy me that much, but still. Remember the days of Free Sky Tyrannus and just look at this beautiful on and off slider. Look how quick it is, just on, off. It's not just faster, but it's also impossible for your backpack to turn on your radio accidentally while you're driving to the flying spot. With these two radios and these buttons, it happened with me. When I put a bunch of crap in my backpack, I always pray that it's not gonna press this button accidentally. Alright, you can say Radiomaster Boxer comes with a nice cover for the sticks, which also protects this on and off button. But I already lost it. You can blame me, but that's boring. You can also say, Ivan, you should use that fancy case Boxer comes with. But if you're type of a guy that uses a separate case for your radio to drag it around instead of normal backpack, you're weird. And that's what you should do. Open up the comments and type, Ivan, I am weird as fuck. And hit comment. Because admitting, you know, is a first step. Okay, this should be a positive review. On average. Some people like this button because it's software button and the radio can give you warning if you're turning off the radio while your drone is still plugged in. So you're flying your RC model and then you're turning off your radio and radio gives you warning. Alright, you gotta go comment again. Okay, maybe it makes sense because I don't know much about planes. And maybe some hardcore plane guys are using failsafe to slowly spin up the motor so that the plane slowly lands. In this case, you really don't want to accidentally turn off your radio if your model is on the ground. But I'm flying hobby quadcopters and I love the slider. I wish there are ways to make software slider to get the best from both worlds. And I know I'm weird, so my comment is the first down there. Alright, positive review. No, for real, I love this radio. This is my to-go radio. I fell in love with it right away. And the biggest advantage for me over TX16S is the battery life. I received this radio 1 week before multi-GP I/O and it lasted for me the whole week plus a week of I/O, which would be just impossible for this big TX16S. It might not be a big deal for some pilots, but if you've ever been to a big race, you know it's just a mayhem. It's hard to charge your racing batteries because generators are keep turning off. You need to fix your quads, change the props, you need to keep an eye on the schedule, sometimes you need to learn the track watching other people flying. And with all that, you're still trying to have fun and good times. And you're also partying in the night, so some of the mornings are pretty rough. So worrying about your radio battery life is something I want to get rid of for sure. Did I charge my second radio battery? Where's my charging USB cable? Just no.
No.
I am so glad it is in the past now with Radiomaster Boxer and the giant battery you can get with it. It doesn't last as long as with these Free Sky Tyrannus, but it's already good enough. By the way, don't forget to calibrate the voltage meter in the radio. It's in the hardware settings. Mine was pretty off from the factory. Another huge advantage of this Boxer radio is the monochrome screen. For real, some people think it's a downgrade, but I sincerely think this is a huge upgrade, that there is no fancy touchscreen and that the screen is not colorful. First of all, monochrome screen increases battery life. Also, in a sunny day, you can always see if your radio is on or off. Look at that. You can't even see the power button LED, but you can still see the screen. By the way, you might have noticed what it says on my display, and that's a little teaser for what I'm working right now for the next video if I'm not lazy. Not to mention, I completely messed up putting the little sticky protection screen. You can see it's all bubbles. Of course, touchscreen could be more comfortable. We're using it on our phones all the time, but HTX display is something I don't spend time in, and I don't want to. And if you like some Lua scripts, Betaflight or anything like this, it's still very quick. Not as quick as disarming though. I know some people love touchscreens everywhere. They would even probably prefer to see touchscreens in the goggles to change some settings or anything like this, right, Mr. Cole?
No.
But my choice is battery life and visibility. And I don't even need visibility to change some settings. No, I just simply want to see if my radio is on or off. Another upgrade of this radio is that I think that the speaker became a little louder, and now in the team racing scenario, when you select your quad, it's a little bit easier to hear which quad squad you have selected. And it's easier to hear if your radio complains
Inactivity alarm.
in your backpack because it turned on accidentally. Also, the new shape of these buttons allowing you to easier navigate through them if you have goggles on your face, if you compare them with TX16S. Still not ideal, but a step forward. The radio has less switches, 4 instead of standard 8, but that's enough for me. And you can always use these obsolete trim switches for something else. This Boxer soft holder instead of the metal one, I don't even want to comment that because...
I mean, who the hell even cares?
Same as these nice rubber grips, cool rolling wheel, these knobs, USB-C charging. Oh, look, there's a hook to put your radio on your neck strap and USB-C for simulator. I hope you guys don't want me to waste time on all of that. But what I do care is that you should
Like and subscribe now.
And please check my Patreon, the link in the description. Of course, if you like my weird content. And certainly we need to thank Radiomaster for making this awesome radio. It's great. And big thank you to ExpressLRS and HTX developers. Thank you. Seriously, this is my to-go radio now. One love. See you in the next video, if I'm not lazy.
You can see the writing on the pavement. Young kids, they're growing up in basements. Online, a whole new generation. So you better go take it. Always they need a new replacement. Decentralized, can't contain it. We're changing lives, yeah, upgrading. Call it suicide of the older generation.
What keeps you up at night, yeah? Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. What keeps you up at night, yeah? Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. Oh, yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong. You got me like, oh, yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong.
Hey, it's too late to try to go contain it. A generation fueled by creation. We live lives on a small screen nation. We control the airwaves, no negotiation. I refuse to think we need saving. Something good will come from creation.